Hello, welcome to this video on the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, a collection of teachings on spiritual awakening. Today we will see the two last verses of those teachings before the conclusion next time. First is the verse 136. Indriyadvārakaṃ sarvaṃ, sukhaduḥkhādisaṃgamam, itīndriyāṇi saṃtyajya, svasthaḥ svātmani vartate. Sarvaṃ, everything, sukhaduḥkhādisaṃgamam, everything, all meetings, source of pleasure and pain, of happiness and sadness. Indriyadvārakaṃ, all that has as its doorway the senses. Everything comes through the senses, be it good or bad, pleasure or pain. Everything, sarvaṃ, comes through the senses. Indriyadvārakaṃ, everything that is a good experience, sukha, or a bad experience, dukkha, or neutral, all that is indriyadvārakaṃ, comes through the senses, seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, and so on. Everything is based on the senses. The whole world of experiences, good and bad, is an extension of the 5 sense fields. Iti, knowing that, understanding that. Saṃtyajya, one should completely let go, indriyāṇi, of those senses. And maybe here the senses include also the 3 inner senses: manas, attention; buddhi, judgment; and ahankāra, sense of identification and possession. I am this, this is mine. So that we have a total of 8 senses, 8 indriyas, and also we can add the organs of action, like the powers of action that we have, like the power of walking, of grabbing, of speaking, of excreting, of generating, of making children and creating. So all that would then be a total of 13. So we have many powers, and through all those powers a field is created. And in fact, what we call the world, made of good and bad experiences, is just the field of those faculties, of those senses. That's why they are called indriya, because they are like Indra, the creator god in the Vedic religion, chief of the gods, because they are the masters, the master creators of our worlds. They are the karana devata. They are the creator, the factors, those who make our experience, our world. So, having understood that, one should completely let go of them. That is, renounce any trust in them, any belief that they can save us, that they can bring us happiness. And having dropped them, having let go of them, svasthaḥ, one becomes healthy. Svasthaḥ is svasthya is the name in the context of Ayurveda, the Indian medicine, is the name of health, a healthy state. Literally, it means to stand, stha, swa, in oneself, to stand in oneself, or to be self-standing. It could be interpreted in many ways, but it means the natural state, in our natural state. So having let go of any naive trust in those senses, we should let go of them, and then we will recover health. We will heal from those ailments of pleasure and pain, of sukhaduḥkhādisaṃgamam. And then svātmani vartate, so it's a gloss of of svasthaḥ. We will operate, we will live vartate, svātmani, in ourself, because everything is in consciousness. And then we will realize that everything that happens in ourselves, not in the body, but in consciousness. So the world is an extension of the senses. The senses are an extension of consciousness. This is how it works. Everything, the outer world, is within my experience. My experience is my 5 or 8 senses. Let's say it like that. That is the 5 senses plus the mind. And all those senses operate and can operate only within consciousness. So everything is a manifestation of me, exists only in me as consciousness. And in other sense, I am consciousness, I manifest as the body, the 5 senses, and the body manifests the world of pleasure and pain. So if I let go of my grasping, of my attachment to the 5 senses, in that space, in that freedom, I can recover my health, and I can begin to live again as what I am really, in my own self. I can realize that, oh, in fact, all that world appear within my sense fields, within the field of my view, of my vision. And the field of my vision appears within the infinite field of consciousness. When I realize that, I'm no longer depending on an outer world. I realize that the world is within me, within consciousness. And then I am healed. I live in myself. Svātmani vartate. He or she lives in himself, in herself. And then this is health, this is good health, this is svasthaḥ. So this is what this verse 136 is teaching. This is an understanding and a practice of realizing, in fact, again, that everything manifests in me, from me, through me. This is the Kashmiri Shaiva tantric interpretation. Of course, one could give another more Vedantic interpretation, but I think this one is the right one. So everything, as the commentator says in a quote, everything is chidvilasa. Everything is the play of consciousness. Everything is sarupa avasthitatvam. The fact that everything exists as one's own essence, which is the same thing. Sasvarupa chinmatra vilasa jñānaṃ. So the state of health of the senses, indriyāṇam svasthaḥ, is the knowledge, jñānaṃ, that everything is nothing but the play of consciousness, chinmatra vilasa, of consciousness, which is our own true essence, our own true who we really are, svasvarupa. Next verse, 137. Jñānaprakāśakaṃ sarvaṃ, sarveṇātmā prakāśakaḥ, ekam ekasvabhāvatvāt, jñānaṃ vibhāvyate. So this is a more difficult verse to interpret, and it's all the more difficult that it is the last of the 112 instructions given by the God. So the first line especially is quite difficult. Jñānaprakāśakaṃ sarvaṃ. Everything is manifested by consciousness. Sarvaṃ, everything. Prakāśakaṃ, prakāśitam, is manifested. Jñānena, by consciousness. Everything is manifested by consciousness. And the second pada would be Atma, the self, consciousness. Prakāśakaḥ, manifests. Sarveṇā, as everything, manifests everything, and manifests as everything. So, in fact, those two sentences have the same meaning. Just the first one is said in the passive voice. Everything is manifested by consciousness. And the second sentence is said in the active voice. Consciousness manifests everything. So it's the same fact, but described in a passive way and in an active way. Just like I say, I open the door, active, and the door is opened by me, passive. But it's the same action, it's the same fact, the opening of the door. So here, the same thing is said in two ways. The first sentence stresses that the object is manifested by consciousness, and the second sentence stresses that consciousness manifests the object. So the conclusion is said in the third pada, second line, ekam ekasvabhāvatvāt. Therefore, the subject and the object, the consciousness and what it manifests, the object, are one, ekam. Why? Because ekasvabhāvatvāt, they have one nature, that is the fact of being consciousness. Jñānaṃ. So, ekam ekasvabhāvatvāt, jñeyaṃ vibhāvyate. The subject and the object manifests from one nature. From one nature, they are one. They are one. Ekam, jñānaṃ. Subject and object are one, because ekasvabhāvatvāt, they share one nature, that is consciousness, the conscious act, the fact of consciousness. Prakāśakaṃ, the fact of being here and now manifest. So there is one side we call the object, there is one side we call the subject, but in fact the object is the subject manifesting itself as the object. So there is no object outside the subject, and the subject, it is the subject itself that is manifesting as the object. Vibhāvyate, that displays itself, that feels himself, herself as both knowledge, consciousness, and jñeyaṃ, the content of consciousness, or experience and the content of experience. And those are one, just like the sea and the waves in the sea. They are one and the same thing. You could say that the waves are the manifestation of the sea, but in fact they are one. They are not separate, in the sense that the waves do not exist outside the sea, even though you can make a distinction between them. So here we have the conclusion. an instruction on the understanding that everything is a manifestation of consciousness. Everything is consciousness manifesting herself as everything, sarveṇā, manifesting herself out as everything. So everything has only one nature, svabhāva, ekasvabhāvatvāt, which is consciousness, which is the fact of consciousness. That's it. So you see, it's not something to believe on the authority of someone else, of some prophet or some guru. It's not also something to be realized on the basis of some special, extraordinary experience, like taking a drug or doing a special practice to induce some special state of consciousness, or some meditation practice, some special meditation practice. Rather, it is an insight gained on the basis of common experience. Nowhere is there the obligation to cultivate a special kind of experience, in a special state of experience outside the three common states of deep sleep, dream, and waking. And especially waking, which is the most, the clearest of all three states. So it's more a matter of recognition. What is recognition? It means to know that X is to know that A is B. For example, to know that that person that I see now is this person that I have been told about. For example, that prince I have been told about, that prince who is a great warrior, he's there. That person in front of me, it's him. So this is recognizing. It's to make the connection between an indirect knowledge I have been told about and a direct knowledge. This is recognition. And here it means that big reality, cosmic consciousness, divine being, the God, divine bliss, all powers and happiness that I have been told about, but which I deem to be very, very far away, extraordinary but far away. This is in reality experience here and now. An experience that is very intimate, that is here and now, but which I deem to be without value. So, to remove that belief of being without value from direct experience, and to remove that belief to be very, very, very far away from my idea of the divine and of perfection, realization, accomplishment, spiritual awakening, and so on, this is recognition, pratyabhikya. This is recognition, recognizing the divine here and now, the extraordinary into the ordinary. And here is the philosophical work to remove the false belief, the belief that take my attention away from appreciating, from feeling, tasting truly what's given here now. And what's given here now is that I am universal consciousness manifesting like that, instant after instant. This is my omniscience. This is my omnipotence. This is my all-pervading of everything. And this is my divinity. My present experience is the proof that I am divine, that I'm not just a body, a passing body, and a passing spirit. So next time we will see the last part of the tantra, the last part of the teaching, the conclusion. That's all for today. Thank you for listening and see you next time.